Then as I looked, I saw a door standing open in heaven. Revelation chapter 4, verse 1. In worship tonight, I closed my eyes and I started to see something that's hard to describe. It looked like a funnel. It was purple and it was spinning. Again, it's really hard to describe, but it was in front of me, just spinning, and it was filled with bright light. It was medium size, and then all of a sudden, it got bigger and bigger until it was really big. Then it turned blue. Then it was like all these different colors spinning in front of me. It went back to purple, then orange, then red, then back to purple and blue, then it disappeared. These words were spoken by my son Lincoln after one of the most difficult and yet most glorious nights of ministry I had ever experienced. We were overseas and a lot of demands were being put on me for ministry. I don't mind working hard, and one of my greatest privileges is to serve God's people all over the world. However, I felt like I was being abused both spiritually and emotionally by the organizers of the event. I was keeping a grueling schedule without proper nutrition or rest, waking up very early to lead morning Bible studies, and then attending lunches immediately afterward, where I was asked to prophesy over every person at the table instead of being allowed to eat my meal with everyone else. Then I would press on, conducting afternoon worship sessions, going to dinner with more people who desired prophecy, again, not being able to eat my meal, and then finishing the night with a miracle service at a church, having a long line of people to pray for. This had been going on for a couple of weeks, day after day. Again, teaching Bible studies, prophesying over spiritually hungry believers, leading worship, and praying for people who have serious needs are wonderful ministries. I love to be involved in all these activities, but it becomes difficult when it feels forced. I felt as though I was being pressured to perform, and that's not something I'm very good at. However, what troubled me most was seeing that money was being exchanged for the chance to get close to me. It seemed that I was being sold to the highest bidder, and this made me very uncomfortable. That evening, when we arrived at the church where I was to minister, the worship team led the people in some songs. Afterward, a businessman shared his testimony, but he spoke in his native tongue, and unfortunately, there was no interpreter available to help us understand what he was saying. Then, without warning, the pastor grabbed hold of the lapel of my suit jacket and literally pulled me up onto the platform. Without explaining what was happening, he stuck a microphone in my hand and said, "Go." Again, I felt like he expected me to put on a show. The way into God's glory. The pastor's actions jolted me, and I struggled for quite a while, trying to regain my composure. At that moment, I didn't even want to be there. I didn't want to be treated like that. Once more, I felt as if the leaders were trying to merchandise the anointing on my life. They were selling me and my ministry. For several seconds, the thought of just walking off the platform and leaving town crossed my mind, but I just couldn't do it. I knew that most of the people in the congregation had come expecting an encounter with God, and their intentions were pure. They were seeking Him and were innocent in this matter. Although I felt disrespected by the leaders, these people deserved to be treated with respect. Regardless of how I felt, they needed me, and I knew it. I could see great expectation in their eyes. But how could I find my way into God's glory after feeling so debased in recent days? Then I realized that I already knew the way. God had revealed it to me years earlier when I was a young teenager. I went to the keyboard, shut my eyes, and worshiped as if nobody else was in the room. In that moment, it was just Jesus and me. The people began worshiping in the Spirit along with me, and a supernatural connection was made. Earth was reaching toward heaven, and heaven was touching earth. This was the point at which Lincoln began to see the vision of the funnel opening. He was seeing what I like to call a power portal, a supernatural access point that enables us to transition from one place in our lives to another. The colors he saw were the various realms that were opening to us.